Hampshire had been sold out, ripped off. He'd been ripped off by everybody and betrayed by the corrupt globalists, Washington, Wall Street people, those combinations of Washington, Wall Street, they're the worst of all. And it's never been worse than it is now under crooked Joe Biden and, frankly, his boss, Barack Hussein Obama. I think it's his boss. Crooked Joe puts China first. He puts Mexico first, Ukraine first, Europe first, Asia first, illegal aliens first, environmental lunatics and maniacs first. These are maniacs, these people. I don't know if they really believe it or is it just something to hurt our country. But everyone else is first. But he puts America last. He puts our workers last. He puts our industries last. He puts your families last. He puts everybody last. Everything that's good he puts last. It's actually reversed. I say it's, a lot of times it's like April Fool's Day. Open border. Who wants an open border? Only stupid people. Who wants not to have voter ID? Voter ID. We will not have voter ID. You know, for their convention, the Democrat convention, they had a voter ID that was the size of this. See this? It's like this. It hung with a chain around their neck. There was a picture. I think it had every bit of information ever. You could read their biography, know everything about the person. They couldn't get into the convention without it. But to go to vote, we don't want voter ID. Actually, the Democrats want it. It's the leadership that does it. And the reason they don't want it, Carolyn, is because they want to cheat. And it's very simple. There's only one reason. I put America first every single time. And since Joe Biden took office, cumulative inflation has reached nearly a 20% number. It's a number that nobody's ever, I don't think they've seen it maybe ever or close to ever. And the 30-year mortgage rate just hit a 27-year high. Congratulations, all of you people that are looking for a house. Enjoy yourself. You're going to be looking a long time. And then you go to the bank, they won't give you the money even if you're willing to pay it. The banks aren't giving money. And you know, the banks, the big banks like Bank of America, Chase, they discriminate against conservatives. You do know that, right? Okay? We're going to stop that real fast. Well, they're not going to do any business with our government because I don't like them. I know them better than anybody, and they discriminate against conservatives, Republicans, conservatives, and it's a disgrace, frankly. By contrast, under my leadership, we had no inflation, and the 30-year mortgage rate was an all-time low. We had an all-time low, like 2.6%. That's a little better than paying 8% and we don't give you the money. You know what they do? It's 8%, we don't give you the money, but if you pay 12, we'll give it to you. That's where they are. The typical family has lost over $7,400 in annual income with Crooked Joe in the White House. Think of that. You know, I changed the name from Sleepy Joe to Crooked Joe because I thought it was actually even more accurate. They're both very accurate, but even more accurate. And I took it off Hillary because I don't like using the same name for two people. You know, we have plenty of words that we can use, right? But I took it away from Hillary because she's no longer relevant. Even though she's still complaining about the election, Russia, it was Russia. No, it wasn't Russia. She's still complaining. They don't go after her, right? Did they indict her for complaining about the election results of 2016? Is Hillary indicted for that? No? Oh, that's strange, because I got indicted for that. Strange. Gee, you think there's a little double standard out there? And I was right. They did cheat. She was wrong. She was really wrong. But no, we took it away. We called her now Beautiful Hillary because she's a beautiful woman. And we wanted to use Crooked for Joe Biden. So she actually went out that night and she celebrated. That was a great night, great day for her when we took that name off. Under President Trump, real family income increased over $6,000 a year. In New Hampshire alone, $6,000. You picked up $7,000 as opposed to losing much more, close to $8,000. That's a big difference. But perhaps no Biden attack on the people of the state has been worse than the socialist calamity known as the Green New Deal, the Green New Hoax, I call it, which has struck New Hampshire with among the highest energy, electricity, and heating costs anywhere in the nation, almost anywhere in the world. You know, you pay the highest energy cost. You ought to speak to your governor about that, by the way. You pay the highest energy costs. You pay the highest energy costs anywhere in the country. You know that, right? And there's no reason for it. It's bad government. And you should. You should have to speak to locals also. But you shouldn't be paying that. You are the number one in the whole nation. It's ridiculous. Right now, countless New Hampshire families are getting ready to heat your homes this winter with the cost of residential fuel oil up 74% to almost $5 a gallon. Congratulations. That's very nice. When I left office, we had it all the way down to $1.99 a gallon. $1.99. Yeah, we did a great job. Remember, I said, drill, baby, drill. Just keep drilling. And we got it so low that they were going to all go out of business. We had to say, slow down a little bit. I had them drilling. They were going to drill themselves right out of business. It was going so low, remember? You actually had a couple of days where it was down to $1.47 for gasoline for the car. And we had to get it up a little. I hated to do that to you, but, you know, they were putting each other out of business. But we had them drilling. We filled up the national reserves, strategic reserves, and then Biden took it to keep your gasoline prices artificially low, and now it's at the lowest level. Did you know that, Carolyn? It's at the lowest level in history. There's almost nothing there. And that was meant for war. Now, who could imagine a war, right? With people pouring into our country, and we have no idea from where they come. The same people, in many cases, the same people that just attacked Israel. You know that, right? Can you imagine what this guy has done to us, what he's done to us? That would have never happened. The attack on Israel would never, ever have happened. The attack on Ukraine would never have happened. Inflation would never have happened. None of it would have happened. We would have been a different country, because right now we're a country in decline, serious decline. To bring down the energy cost for New Hampshire families, I will immediately rescind every Green New Deal catastrophe of the Biden administration. And we will drill, baby, drill. We'll get them way down. We'll get them way down. You know, if they would build a pipeline, and we started it, and we were just about set to have it, then you had that result in the election, which was so terrible. But going through New York State, a very poor section of New York State, the people up there want it very much, but you would have a pipeline, your numbers would come down in half, more than half. It's amazing. You know, they used to have, they probably still have, knowing this guy, he gets oil from Venezuela. Why not from Russia, right? But you used to have ships from Russia coming in to give you your oil and gas. You know that, right? The ships would come in from Russia. And we have so much. We have more than anybody else in the world. And for you needed a pipeline, but your Democrats won't approve it, and your governor hasn't been able to get it done. It would be a shame. If they just go through a very poor section of New York State, you would have the lowest energy. You go from the highest to about the lowest, and all they need is a pipeline. And we had it done. We had it all set to go, and then they don't do. Just like we had the wall built, and then they don't want to finish it. Now, we did, I think, 561 miles of wall, and we had another 200 that we ordered. It's like water, you know, you do it, and then you got to do a little bit more. We had 200 miles ordered, ready to be installed, would have taken 3 weeks. And then we had that election result, and then what happened is they decided not to use it. And I said, these guys really do want to have open borders. That was the first clue, because it's inconceivable that somebody would say open borders with all the problems it brings and has brought. And you see it up here a lot, but some of these places, they can't even breathe. Even Democrats are going against Democrats in a very nasty way. They think it's just absolutely insane what's going on. But I'll terminate Joe Biden's delusional power plant regulations. These are just crazy things that too lengthy to explain. But they are just insane things that they want to do to destroy our country, which are forcing hundreds of power plants to shut down with nothing to replace them. It's a massive gift to communist China and various other places. It's just a big gift. They want to close down power plants that have 50 to 100 years of life left. And, you know, China is building a power plant every week, all coal. They only use coal. They like coal, because it's very inexpensive. They don't use clean coal, they can use clean coal. You know, they have things called clean coal now and natural gas and lots of great things that have tremendous power. Germany, you know, decided to go green, and they were going to go green. They're going to go out of business, and they've now started to build coal-fired plants all over the place. So they've gone from one extreme to the other. But good, clean coal, and it's okay, and it has power, and obviously gas, natural gas, it's very clean. But we don't do that. We use things that we can't get. We use things that we can't get. You know, the windmills are subsidized heavily by the government, and they cost a lot. And if you have one near your house is worthless because you can't sell it. Between the noise and the look, you can't sell it. And it's probably the most expensive energy you can have. It's tremendously expensive. And then you have to rebuild them every 10 years. You know, they don't just keep growing. You got to they get ripped to pieces. And then they kill all the whales, right? They kill all the whales out there, and then they say that for boat manufacturers, the boat can't go more than 2 miles an hour because we don't want to hurt the whales, even though there's only been one recorded incident of that in 50 years. But all the time now, we see whales washing up on shore because of the wind, those big wind turbines they're building out in the ocean that are unbelievably expensive. In fact, so expensive that even with subsidies, these companies are all canceling out because it doesn't work. So the whales will be very happy about that. But I will implement rapid approvals of new energy infrastructure. We will regain energy independence as we did. You know, you were energy independent 3 years ago, soon to be energy dominant. You're going to be dominant. We were going to sell our energy to Europe, make a lot of money, reduce your taxes even further. You know, the Trump administration gave you the biggest tax decrease, tax cuts and regulation cuts in the history of our country, bigger than the Reagan cuts by a lot. And we would cut them even still further and also reduce debt. We were going to sell our oil and gas to Europe at good prices, but they were good. Instead, they did Nord Stream 2 with Russia, and I stopped it. It was totally dead, and then Biden came along and he approved it. Then he says, you are very, very nice to Russia. No. Putin used to say, they always say you're so nice. You are the worst thing that ever happened to us. But I got along with them. But you are the worst thing. Think of it. I stopped Nord Stream 2. That's the biggest thing they've ever done. I stopped it. It was dead, and then Biden approved it. So you tell me who's a little tougher on just that one thing alone, sanctions, everything else. And they would have never gone into Ukraine, that I can tell you, not even a little chance. And you know, for two reasons, just while we're on this, for two reasons. Number one, as I said, you can't go in. Can't go in. What I will do is so bad. No, you won't. Yes, I will. What I will do, I told them, is so bad. It's so bad. I don't want to do it. There's no way. I said, way. And he didn't believe me, but he believed me 10%. He believed me, Mr. Senator, he believed me 10%. That's all we needed. 10% is enough. And there was never any movement. I mean, you know, we proved that for 4 years. There was no thought of that. And the other reason he wouldn't have gone in, because we had oil at $40 a barrel. At $40 a barrel, he doesn't have the money to do the war. And he wouldn't have been able to. And now it's $100 and going higher. And it was $100. It was $115 a little while ago when he started this thing. So he had so much money. He'll be the only guy to make a lot of money off a war. And he wouldn't have been able to do that with us because there was no money. You couldn't have made the money at $40 a barrel. So that would have never happened. But it wouldn't have happened just for the first reason, too. I said you can't do it. And I'll quickly cut New Hampshire gas and heating bills. We're going to cut them at least in half and very quickly. We're going to get it done very quickly. Which I think is an important point for us to talk about because it's ridiculous. When you look at your bills compared to other people, and they're all up because this guy has let energy go through the roof. You know, inflation started with energy. It's not that complicated. When you have a donut shop or a food shop or a dress shop, you need heat, you need whatever, you need everything, you need trucks to deliver your product. Energy is so big, so important, and it went through the roof. It just went through the roof, and that took everything with it. Now everything, they say bacon has gone up 5 times, meaning 5 times in the last year and a half. 5 times. Even I'm cutting back on bacon. It's too expensive. I'm cutting back on it. But I'll be the American energy president, and I have been. I mean, I really have been. We did an incredible job with energy. We were making a fortune. You know, we were in third place when I started, and within 2 years, we were not only in first place, we were much bigger than Saudi Arabia and Russia. And if you look at a chart, and I want to have my people start putting up these charts because they're really good, because you look at them 1 second and it explains it better than all the words on earth. You had Russia here like this. You had Saudi Arabia a little above Russia. You had us pretty far down here. And by the time I finished, we were like a rocket ship. We were like this, way beyond that. And all of that energy, that extra energy, we didn't need it from anybody. We didn't have to guard countries. We didn't have to do anything. We have more than any other country in the world. Remember, I got Anwar approved. It was such a big deal. Reagan couldn't do it. Bush probably didn't try too hard. You know, it's different mindset. But Reagan did. We respect Reagan. And he did. He couldn't get it done. I got it done. Anwar, it's the biggest, as big as Saudi Arabia, they say, the equivalent to Saudi Arabia in Alaska. And Biden comes in, within the first week, they terminated it. Can you believe that? It was so much work to get that approved. We got it approved. They were ready to start drilling. And the Alaska people were devastated because it was the greatest economic project. But even for the country, it was such a massive amount. It's big, but I'll get it done again. I'll get it approved. I'll get it approved very quickly. I actually got it approved, and I'll get it approved very quickly. But the United States will have the lowest cost of energy and electricity very soon. As soon as we're in, almost as soon as we're in, it's going to go very quickly. Right away, we're going to have the lowest, anywhere on earth, we'll have the lowest energy on earth. Right now, you have one of the highest, in this state in particular. On day one, I will also repeal Joe Biden's insane electric vehicle mandate. Can you believe it? Everybody has to have an electric car. Darling, let's drive down to Florida. We'd like to get some sun in Florida. Let's drive to South Carolina. Let's drive to Texas. Well, I want to, darling, but let's see. We have to stop 22 times to get to Texas. I don't want to stop 22 times. They say the happiest person in the world is when you get that first 10 minutes boost. You know, you get your car charged and you're in the car, but after 10 minutes, you get very paranoid because you're looking for a new charging station. You're petrified you're going to be out in the road in the middle of nowhere, and you run out of the charge, as they call it. But the tow truck business is extraordinarily good, so they're towing these cars all over the place. You see cars, beautiful, nice, brand new cars being towed to a charger. It's ridiculous. And by the way, I'm a believer in electric cars. It's fine. But, you know, whatever the market bears, if they want to have gasoline, we have more gasoline than anybody on earth, right? We have more than Saudi Arabia. We have more than Russia, much more than Russia. We have more than anybody. Gasoline, I like hybrid. I like everything. You make everything. But you can't, you know, in California, they want to go with all electric, but they can't even, they have a blackout. They don't have enough electricity. And you know who makes electricity? You know who makes it? Coal makes it, right? Coal makes it. And you know who else makes it? Oil makes it. So all of these grids that you hear, the grid, oh, the electric grid. No, it's all generated by the initial charge is made with oil and coal and different other products. These people are absolutely crazy. Under a Trump administration, gasoline-powered engines will be allowed, but child sexual mutilation will be banned, if that's okay with you. If that's okay. If that's okay. Right? Good, man. I say this, you know, every time I mention, we will stop child mutilation. Now think of it. 10 years ago, you're a politician, and you get up and say, we will stop child sexual mutilation. The people in the audience say, what the hell is he talking about? That's not possible. It's very possible that they mutilate. I mean, what they do to your children without your approval, with nothing. These people, they're crazy. But to think I have to say that, or to think I have to say, we will ban men from participating in women's sports. Have you seen the weightlifting records? No, can you believe it? Have you seen the weightlifting records? The lifting, like 150 pounds more. They've had a record 18 years. They put an ounce on one side. They put an ounce on the other side, little ounce on the... Girl gets up. I can't do it. Mom, I can't. She's a champion, the world champion. She can't do it. I can't do it, Mom. I just can't. Mom's in the front, Dad's in the front. They're so proud. She can't do it, that extra little ounce, 2 ounces. Then a guy gets up who recently transitioned. Have you lifted before? Not really. And he goes with one hand. It's so crazy. I think they broke the record by like 150 pounds or something. They couldn't lift an extra ounce, but they can wipe out 100. That's a record that's not going to be broken, except maybe by Carolyn. I think maybe Carolyn can break it. Not too many people are going to be breaking that, right? So after many decades of failure and betrayal, we will cast from the power of diehard, well, that's what happens. These diehard globalists like Joe Biden, who's crooked. Look, when I got indicted the first time, I said, oh, now that love's ours, this is never supposed to happen to an ex-president who did a great job. I did a great job. I mean, we had the best economy. We had the best border. We had the best everything. Then I got indicted so fast, one after another, election interference, all crap. And I said, well, that gloves are off. And I never talked about him this bad. I mean, I respected the office more so than him, not really him. But when I got indicted 4 times, and I have civil trials, a DA in New York, a totally corrupt Attorney General, totally Letitia Peekaboo James, totally corrupt Attorney General in New York. She said Mar-a-Lago's worth $18 million. The judge said Mar-a-Lago's worth $18 million. I had about 10 people call. I'll take 10 of them. Could I have 10 of them? And it's worth, perhaps billions of dollars. But they said that this is what the trial. It's so sad. But the gloves were taken off. And now I tell the fact. He's a corrupt politician. He's grossly incompetent. And he's the worst president in the history of our country. And he's destroying our country. I wouldn't have spoken like that out of respect for the office, but we're going to protect foreign labor. If you look at it, Ron DeSanctimonious comes along, right? How about him? I got him elected. Then he says 4 years later, yes, I would run against him, essentially. He said, I have no comment. So that's about the same thing, wouldn't you say, right? When they say I have no comment, that's the same thing. By the way, we have a very special congressman. Would you and your wife please stand up? Great people. Great people. I see you sitting there. They didn't put you on the screen, Lance. But I appreciate you being here. It's really an honor. From Texas. And they're incredible, very, very great people, both of them. And they didn't put him on this. This teleprompter's not doing so good today. They didn't put him down. I would never, ever get his vote on anything. He'd vote to impeach me if I didn't mention him. I'd be in trouble. Like some of the other crazies. We had Nancy Pelosi vote to him. Crazy Nancy. No, she came out and she said, we'll impeach him. And then she found out I did nothing wrong and they had already started the process. So she said, well, let's just go through with it anyway. It turned out that phone call that I got impeached, I'm the only guy who could get impeached on a perfect phone call. I got impeached. And it was a perfect call to the president of Ukraine. And it turned out now, 2 years later, that was 100% right. Because they were crooked people. But it turned out, meaning Biden, the son, the whole thing, they were crooked people. So it turned out to be 100% right. But one thing I did, because of that gentleman right there and some others like him, we had 197 Republicans at the time, I believe, and I got 197 votes in favor of no impeachment from the Republicans. So that's great. Thank you very much, Lance. Thank you. I'm glad I saw you sitting there. I would have been in trouble. But thank you. We have some other great people in the audience, too, and we appreciate you here. Under the Trump administration, we will once again protect American jobs, American workers, American wages, American borders, and we're going to protect, most importantly, American families, because American families are being hit very hard. They've never had anything like this. The inflation, inflation is called a country buster. It busts countries. You look at Germany from many years ago, you look at anywhere inflation comes, it doesn't have to be now, it could be 200 years ago. Where they had inflation, they had broken countries. And we're very close to a broken country. We're also very close to a country that's going to be in a third world war because we have an incompetent president. He has no clue. And this isn't a war with army tanks going back and forth. This is a war with weapons, the likes of which nobody can even imagine how bad they are. This is obliteration, and Obama has plenty to do with it. Obama has plenty to do with it. I call him Biden's boss, but he has plenty to do with it. Very, very, very serious. We are in very, very grave danger of having a World War III, and this will be a war. This will be a war of obliteration. This will not be a war with, I say, army tanks going back and forth shooting at each other. This is the real deal. And we have a man that he can't even walk off a stage. He walks off a stage. He finishes his speech. He looks, oh, well, he can't find. He has no idea. You know, there's always a stair there, a stair here. You could even walk off the front, jump or something, do something. He usually walks to the back into a wall. Yeah, there's a wall there. He walks right into a wall. Can't walk off the stage, can't put two sentences together, and yet he's negotiating with President Xi of China, who, when I say he's very smart, the press, look at, that's a lot of press back there. That's a lot. So for him to negotiate with President Xi of China is like my high school football team playing the, let's see, what's a good team nowadays? Philadelphia's good. So, you know, they change a little bit. I used to say New England. I used to say the Patriots. I'd love to be able to say the Patriots. He's a great guy, great coach, but they're having a little hard time. But what's going on with the Patriots, huh? But he's a great coach. And he'll figure it out somehow. He's going to figure it out. But that was not a good game last night, was it, huh? But it's like playing a professional team. It's ridiculous for him to be negotiating with these people. I got to know them all. They're at the top of their game. They're at the top of their game. And we have somebody that 30 years ago wasn't at the top of any game. He wasn't 30 years ago. Never was. He was a glad hand. That's all he was, is a glad hand. And Ted Kennedy told me that, a friend of mine. Can you believe he was a friend of mine? But he was, for certain reasons. As president, I stood up to China like no administration has ever done before, bringing in hundreds of billions of dollars, pouring into our treasury, and took it right out of China. I even got the farmers and plenty of people in here, but I got the farmers $28 billion from China. Who the hell else is going to do that? My people told me, please, sir, don't do that. Don't do that. I don't like you, sir. You sound so arrogant. Because I went to Iowa, Nebraska, different places, and I'd say, we're going to win you. We're going to win your state so big, farm states. We're going to win Wisconsin. I did so much for them. I got $28 billion. Think of that. You know, that's all these people because they were taking advantage. I asked our Secretary of Agriculture, Sonny Perdue. He said, Sonny, what do you think the damage has been that they've caused over the last number of years? Before my term, they really caused tremendous damage to the farmers. And he comes back 2 days later, he says, sir, it's approximately $28 billion. I said, all right, good. I'm going to take $28 billion. I tariff them. I got $28 billion for the farmers. Who else would do it? By the way, who else would do that? Who else would even think of it? Can you imagine? Who else? Do you think that the sanctimonious or any of these people? Do you think Biden? How about Biden? He doesn't know he's alive. Biden is going to say, let's get $28 billion for the farmer. Biden doesn't even like farmers, if you want to know the truth. He doesn't like farmers, and he doesn't like minorities. That's true, isn't it, huh? And nobody ever says that, but it's true. He doesn't like minorities. But, you know, you take a look at that, and I'd say, well, I'm definitely winning Iowa. I'd go into Iowa and make a speech. We just got back, and it was great. And I said, I don't want to sound arrogant, but I know I'm going to win Iowa. And my people say, oh, that's so arrogant. I said, I got them $28 billion. Who the hell else is going to do it? And I say it, and everybody laughs, so we all have a good time. But it is true. I got them $28 billion. How the hell do I lose a farm state if I got you $28 billion? But Ron DeSantis opposed my China tariffs. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars. The 28 was a portion of it, and we gave that to the farmers, but we took in hundreds of billions. Not one president of our country has taken in 10 cents from China, not 10 cents. And I took in hundreds of billions of dollars. They didn't like me too much. They didn't like me too much. But very simply, Ron DeSanctimonious, and I'm not even sure I'm supposed to be wasting my time talking about him because I hear he's so far down. Could you tell me, is there anybody else I'm supposed to? Bird brain, maybe? Bird brain? Do I talk about anybody else? Because he really has. He's fallen like a wounded bird from the skies. But he sided with the communists in China, and I fought for the workers of America. He was against what we did. He was very much against what we did. And perhaps most offensive of all to the people of New Hampshire, DeSanctimonious pushed a 23% national sales tax, which means he is 100%, in my opinion, unelectable when you do that. He also, the sales tax was one thing, but he also pushed very strong on doing damage, bad damage, very bad, and maybe even extinguishing a thing called Social Security. And he wanted the minimum age to be 70. He voted on it 3 times, by the way, so, it's hard for him to deny it. But the national sales tax would pulverize the middle class and decimate the hardworking families of this state almost more than most others. And it's never going to happen. We're never going to let that happen. One thing about a politician, when they have an idea and then they always go away from it during an election. No, I was only kidding when I said I'm going to pulverize Social Security. I was only kidding. But they always go back to it, right? They always go back to it. And they go back to their first idea. That's where they are. DeSantis also very much hurt Medicare, and he wanted to hurt it badly, but it got voted down. As your president, I proudly ended the disaster known as NAFTA, the world's worst trade deal probably ever made, and replaced it with the USMCA, that's Mexico, Canada. And it's, they say, the best trade deal ever made in the country. Actually, believe it or not, the deal I made with China is, I think, even better. They have to buy $50 billion of product, but I don't even talk about it because of COVID. I don't even talk about it. We had the greatest economy in the history of the world. We had COVID, and then I built it again, rebuilt it again. The stock market was actually higher than it was pre-COVID. It was pretty amazing. We did a great job on something that nobody had any idea what it was, COVID, when it came in. We did a great job. Let the governors run it. Some of the governors did a great job, like Henry McMaster of South Carolina and Governor Nome. She was fantastic. South Dakota. And some others. Tennessee did a very good job. And they kept them open. They kept them open. Florida, by the way, was not kept open, just in case you have any questions. But they got back. But it was not kept open. Some people forget history, but it's very easy to go back, especially with the internet. It takes you seconds. Oh, that's true. The beaches were closed. The hotels, everything was closed. But it got back. And we did a great job on that. And I let the governors do it. We got them the equipment they needed. We did something. We never got the credit on that one, but we got credit on a lot of other things, like having created the strongest border in the history of our country. Got credit on that one. Having created the greatest economy in the history of our country. The greatest economy by far. I fought for New Hampshire fishermen and lobstermen like no administration in history. No administration cared about the fishermen and the lobstermen. I only did it because selfishly I love that lobster. You couldn't get it. So we got it. I opened it up. The 500 square miles, right? I opened it up. They want to close it up, and I guess they want to do that. It's so crazy. But making a deal with the European Union to eliminate tariffs on American lobster. They were charging us tariffs and we weren't charging them. I said, either you do that or we're going to charge you double the tariffs you're charging us. They said, we'd be delighted in taking the tariffs off. It took one phone call. But the EU tariff reduction on any product, it's the first time that they've ever done that, and they did it for me with one conversation. I said, you do it, we're going to do it to you with everything, not just lobster. And they dropped everything. I also opened up 5,000 square miles of ocean off New England that Barack Hussein Obama had closed. I don't know why. They closed. The most fertile area almost like in the world for a thing called fish and lobster. And you weren't allowed to use it. 500 square miles. You know how deep you had to go? You had to go way the hell out, dangerous, way, way out in the ocean. And to this day, nobody really tells me, why. Why did they do it? And they want to put it back again. Now we're ready for the America First economic program. It's going to be, we're going to make our country, everyone is really down right now because our country looks so bad. We have no influence in the world. Everything's falling apart. Everything he's done has been bad. Everything. You know, I have a little list that I'm going to read in a second, but everything that he's done is a failure. The open border, his relations with other countries. We've lost every country. We don't even have any allies anymore. They don't respect us. I mean, we have nothing going. You take a look. Yeah, China's our best ally, I think, with him. Well, you know, he has to because they paid him so much money. We have no choice, right? Got plenty of money out of China. Remember with Russia during the debate? They said, how come the mayor of Moscow's wife gave you $3.5 million in cash? And Chris Wallace, how's he doing? Not too good. Chris Wallace, who was a moderator for Fox, you're not allowed to ask that question. I said, why not? He got $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife. Why aren't we allowed to ask that question? Well, it's inappropriate because now it turns out that's a big scandal. I was right. I'm always a couple of years ahead of schedule. That's okay. And I was right. They got money from a lot of countries. When I'm reelected, we will have these regulation cuts in addition. Again, we cut regulations and taxes more than anybody else, but we're going to get more because we're going to have so much money coming in from energy that we're not going to have to toy with your Social Security or your Medicare. We will have, again, when I go to Saudi Arabia, talk to any of the Saudis, and they order 200, brand new Boeing 777s, I said, how do you get your financing? They look at me like, financing? We don't need finance. We got nothing but cash, right? We have bigger than they do. We have more than they do. We can do so well, and we don't have to terminate somebody that's worked their whole life, their Social Security, or play with their Medicare like DeSantis wants to do and all these other candidates want to do because they have no idea. They have no idea. You take a look at them. I mean, I got candidates, Ada Hutchinson, I call him Ada. Ada. The guy is polling at 0. I think it's appropriate that Trump's debates. Why? So a guy at 0, I'm 70 points higher than him, more, and I'm supposed to be standing on. Why? Well, you talk about Trump derangement syndrome. He's a deranged human being. Chris Christie, he's a deranged person. He thinks, no, it's just okay. He stands up. They say, what do you think of our economy? Donald Trump is a horrible human being. He's horrible. It's tough when you don't give somebody a job and then they're supposed to be nice, right? But no, I never trusted him to give him a job. But he endorsed me right after our big debate. We had a big debate up here, and then he endorsed me immediately. But I just didn't choose to do that. When you don't give people jobs or when you fire people from jobs, they tend to get, Mr. Congressman, quite vicious. And he's a deranged human being. You got a lot of problems. And you have others. You have others. But they're polling at 4, 5, 6, 0, in a few cases, 0. One guy actually has a 0 with an arrow pointing left. That means minus 0. And then they say, Trump should really debate them. So far, we've done good. We've had 2 debates. I haven't participated. They got the lowest ratings in the history of debates. Lowest ratings. Thank you. In fact, I went up to Michigan to save the United Auto Workers from their union because their union was negotiating a terrible thing. They were negotiating hourly wages, but they weren't talking about the electric vehicles because they can have all the wages they want, but in 2 years they're not going to have a job if they go with this mandate that they have for electric vehicles. So I was up in Michigan while they were debating, and my poll numbers went up like another 6 or 7% by skipping the debate. And I think that if the United Auto Workers, and if auto workers, period, but if the United Auto Workers listen to their union, unless their union changes, and they're starting to change. I went up and I explained about the fact that you would think they would know that, right? Because it's not with me a full-time job, that particular thing. It is for them. You'd think they'd know that you can't approve the electric mandates. You can't do it, all of them, because all of those cars are going to be made in China. That's where the materials are. That's where the minerals are. That's where the batteries are. That's where we have another thing here. It's called gasoline right under our feet. I call it liquid gold. Oil. Right under our feet, more than anybody. I call it liquid gold. That's what we have, and we don't take advantage of it. We go to China. China, can you imagine if China was sitting on what we have? They would be an even more successful country, and they wouldn't be doing the stupid things that we do. To protect New Hampshire workers and families, I'll impose a cross-the-board tariff on all foreign-made goods because we have to do that. And that's not going to be a tax on you. You know, like the Wall Street Journal, which is totally globalist, you know, they want to protect the globe. They don't care about this country. They say, oh, it's a tax. Number one, it gives you tremendous negotiating power. I'll give you an example. On the border, I got Mexico to pay for 28,000 soldiers. 28,000. Because I said, if you don't pay, I'm going to put a tariff on all the cars that you stole from us. You know, they took 32% of our automaking industry over a period of decades. 32%. So I said to them, you know, we had people coming in through this Obama group like you wouldn't believe. I said, we got to close up our borders. I want people into our country, but they have to come in legally, right? Now you look at what's happened. It's just so crazy. But I said very strongly, I said, no, you're going to have to give us 28,000 to protect our border. That's why we had the greatest border records in history, because of Mexico. You know, all those people that say, Donald Trump never got money from Mexico. I got 28,000 soldiers. That's much more than anybody could get by giving us a couple of bucks to help build the wall. But there was no legal mechanism where you can do that. But I said, you got to give us 28,000. They said no. I said, you also have to give us, stay in Mexico, remain in Mexico. That's a pretty big thing because they were remaining in our country. You know, they were coming in, and it was called remain in the United States for the rest of your life. And I said, no, they have to remain in Mexico until we check them out and see. And most of them didn't check out. They came from prisons. They came from mental institutions. They came from lots of places. And the person at the State Department, very good woman, all she did was work on Mexico for about 25 years. She said, sir, they'll never do this, because she's never gotten anything from them. I said, no, they'll do it. Sir, they won't do it. I'm telling you they won't. I said, 100% they'll do it. And also catch and release. Catch and release. You catch them and then you release them into America. You catch them, they're a criminal, even criminals. They catch them. What's your crime? Murder. Oh, okay, well, please show up in 3 or 4 years for court. No, only the really dumb ones show up. You know, nobody shows up. You know what percentage show up for court? We're going to release you. You're on the honor system. In 4 years, please come back. We're going to have a case. And only about 1% come back. And they're the ones that you really don't want because they're not very smart. But they come back. Everyone else is just like they're all illegally in this country. We've taken in, I'll bet, 15 million people in the last short period of time. It's bigger than New York State. But so I said to Mexico, I said, you got to pay for the soldiers. I want them free of charge. No, they said, you got to be kidding. Why would we do that? You're going to do it. So they sent their top representative. I said, a very nice guy, right under the president, because they knew I was not happy about people coming in from Mexico in the caravans. And they sent their top person, nice man. And he said, sir, we won't do that. I said, yes, you will. He said, no, sir, we won't. I mean, I'm telling you, we will not do it. Yes, you will, 100%. 100% you'll do it. And he said, no, we're not going to do it. I said, here's what we're telling you. In right here, I have a piece of paper, and I'm signing it. It was a Friday afternoon. I said, on Monday morning at 7 o'clock in the morning, there's a 25% tariff that's going to be placed on all of your cars and all of your goods and all of the billions and billions and billions of dollars that you sucker us with and you sell into the United States. And it's 25%, and that's much more than the cost of 28,000 soldiers. Remember what 28,000 soldiers, that's a lot. And these are Pancho Villa, you know, they have the bullets across the, these aren't politically correct, like our guys have to be politically correct. If you say excuse me, ma'am, you're not allowed to be here. If you say it in a bad tone, they want to put you in jail, okay? You know, they're politically correct. Our people, what they've done to our military is terrible. But I've rebuilt the entire military, but we'll get that straight now because we have a great military potential. We have a great military. So we had the soldiers. So I said, I'm going to put a 25%, I'm going to put on all of your products, Mr. Congressman, a 25% tax, everything. And it's going to start on Monday morning. Mr. President, I'd like to make a phone call. Comes back 5 minutes later. Sir, it would be a great honor to put 28,000 soldiers free of charge on your border. This would be a great honor for us. And catch and release, you win that too. Stay in Mexico, you win that too. You win everything, sir. Please don't do that, sir. We got everything. We got everything. But we don't do that with this administration. This administration doesn't do things like that. I will also pass what we'll call the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act. If China or any other country makes us pay, they charge us massive tariffs to do business in their country. This way our businesses leave your state and they go to China and they build a factory in China because they don't want to pay the tariff. But if they make us pay a 100 or 200% tariff, then we will make them pay an exactly the same reciprocal tariff of 100 to 200%. So if we're paying them, they're paying us. So one of two things are going to happen. We're going to either take a lot of money or we're going to both agree that let's forget it. We go back and there's no tax. And probably the second thing will happen more often than not. And as taxes on foreign countries go up, taxes on American workers, families, and small businesses will, because of what I did, will go down. Now, people like the Wall Street Journal, they are so mixed up. They don't know what to do. They don't like things like this because they're globalists. They want China to do well. They want other countries to do well, much more so than they want. Look, Rupert Murdoch's a globalist. Much more so than they want anybody. I don't even think they want us to do well, if you want to know the truth, because I've seen too many things. But they're globalists and they want other countries to do well, so they'll fight this. But smart people in Congress and smart people in the Senate are going to approve it. I will revoke China's most favored nation trade status because, they're most favored because they're a developing country. And we will impose stiff penalties on China and other trade businesses for the abuse. Just so you understand, they are a favored nation. You know why? Because they say we're a developing nation. We are a developing nation, sir. So are we. Have you seen our cities? Our cities are going to hell. Our whole country's going to hell. We're a developing nation. We're more of a developing nation than they are. They have a better school system. By the way, we're going to terminate the Department of Education, if you don't. Fast. Almost the first thing we're going to do. We're going to let local government, we're going to let the states run education. We're going to let the states run education. We spend more per pupil than any country anywhere in the world, and yet we're at the bottom of the list. We're in number 38, 39, or 40, out of 40, and yet we spend double and sometimes triple per pupil more than any other. You have Denmark, Norway, Sweden. China is a top country. Can you imagine? With 1.4 billion people, China is a top country. They do a very good job, but we don't do a good job. So it's like my famous statement that I've made numerous times about lots of different things. What the hell do we have to lose, right? And you move it back to New Hampshire, and you move it back to Iowa and South Carolina and all of these great states, and you'll run your education, and we'll have nobody in Washington except maybe just one person sitting at one desk with perhaps a secretary saying, are you sure you're teaching English? We want to make sure. There are a couple of basics, right? There are a couple of basics. But it's no wonder the far-left lunatics are getting desperate to stop our movement by any means necessary. And as you know, crooked Joe Biden and his radical left thugs have weaponized law enforcement to arrest their leading political opponent. Me, I got arrested. Can you believe it? That's the mugshot. I never thought I'd be taken. I wonder what my father and mother are saying as they look down. My son just took, like mugshots weren't supposed to be in the family. Sorry, Dad. I'm glad they weren't around to see it. A mugshot. That was never supposed to happen politically. Think of it, a mugshot. I had a mugshot, but it turned out quite good. Good news. Over nothing. It's all coming out of Washington, too. And it's all high-level election interference. They want to demean you and destroy you so that when you run against this man who is mentally incapacitated, you have to lose. That's the only way they can win. They have to cheat. They can't win with all their policies of open borders, high taxes, high interest rates, no voter ID. No voter ID. With all their policies, they can't win. The only way they know how to win is by cheating. And this is a form of cheating. This is third world country stuff. Arrest your opponent. And that means that I could do that too. If I win, I could say, wow, there's somebody over there. No, but you see what's happening. You see what's starting. This is like, I've always read that, when a president leaves office, does a good job, leaves office, works hard, and you just don't do it. You just treat them with great respect. I got indicted 4 times in 3 civil trials by cuckoo birds, where it's just unbelievable. And they think if I can keep them out of New Hampshire and Iowa and South Carolina and Nevada, if we can keep them in courthouses busy as hell, they don't care until after the election. If I would have decided not to run, I wouldn't have any of this stuff. If I was in 3rd or 4th or 5th place, I wouldn't have any of this stuff because they wouldn't. But I'm leading Biden by a lot, and I'm leading all of the Republicans by a massive amount. So, in fact, somebody said, you don't have to come to New Hampshire, sir. You're leading by 44 points. You don't have to come. I said, no way. How about if I called, I'm not going to come. No. I said, I don't have the courage to tell those great people, and there's thousands, there's a lot of people outside, you'll be happy to know. DeSantis had a thing yesterday. He had 33 people show up. We had that times about 1,000. In the Republican primary, as an example, the Survey USA poll, this is considered an A-plus poll, meaning that's how they rate them, A+, A, B, C, D. Then you got some real beauties, too. But this is an A-plus poll. A Survey USA poll has us at 65%, and DeSanctimony is at 9% and sinking rapidly. He's going down. Sinking like a rock. And in the general election, I'm beating Biden by a lot. And it's interesting, a friend of mine heard I was up by 9 points or 10 points on Biden. He said, and he's not a political person, he said, how could it only be that much? But they have an automatic constituency, Mr. Senator. We know that, right? They have a constituency of various, I don't want to get into it because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, because I believe a lot of those constituencies are going to come our way. So I'm not going to insult anybody. But they have automatic votes that get them to like 38% without even doing it. You could be a guy like Biden, who's dumb as a rock, who doesn't know what he's doing, who's allowing horrible things to happen to our country, who's letting our country be destroyed. And maybe he doesn't even know it. I'm not sure he knows. It's the people around his desk, the fascists and the communists that deal with him. And, he's perfect for them. They didn't want him, and then they found out he's the perfect guy. We can't get a better guy than this because he'll do anything we tell him. The radical left Democrats rigged the presidential election of 2020, and we're not going to let them rig the presidential election of 2024. I'm not going to let it. We got almost 12 million more votes the second time. I always say, we did much better the second time. Drives them crazy, but we did much better. I was told that we got 63 million votes. We got 63 million the first time. And I was told that we got 63. Sir, you cannot lose. Fabrizio told me, he's a great pollster. McLaughlin told me, great pollster. Sir, if you got 63, you can't lose. We got like almost 12 million more votes than that. And that's with their counting. Okay? Their counting is crooked as hell. And they say we lost, but the real answer, and we have so much. If we only had judges that had the courage to do what they should have done. Every time the radical left Democrats, Marxists, communists, and fascists indict me, I consider it a great badge of honor because I am being indicted for you. I am being indicted for you. It's true. It's true. I got indicted more than the great, legendary Alphonse Capone. Has anyone ever heard of Alphonse? You ever heard? You're too young to know about Al Capone. If you looked at him the wrong way, he would kill you, okay? This was a seriously tough mobster. He was I guess you'd call him the king of the mobsters, right? Al Capone only got indicted once. I got indicted 4 times, and mine were in like this tiny little bracket. It's amazing the way all these things happen just right smack in the middle, all these trials. I got these judges, they're appointed. I won't even tell you who appointed them. No, we have to have the trial. The one judge in Washington. No, we want the trial to start. The day before Super Tuesday. You know, Super Tuesday in our world. You know, you're very political people. New Hampshire's very political. We kept you exactly where you were. A lot of people wanted New Hampshire to go back. We didn't let that happen. But New Hampshire is very, very political. We have a judge in Washington. The trial date starts on such and such. You know what the day is? The day before Super Tuesday, the biggest of all, right? That's when all of the states get in. And all they do is they just expose themselves. They just expose themselves for what they are. Never forget, our enemies want to stop us because we are the only ones who can stop them. True. They want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. And they want to take away your freedom. We're becoming a communist state. We're becoming a communist state, right? They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. But in the end, they're not after me, they're after you. They're after you. I just happen to be standing in their way. I will continue to stand in their way. It's true. Remember when I used to say at rallies, we will never become a socialist nation. I used to say it all the time. And I was right. We've gone right to communism. That's a step. We've gone right to Marxism. We never were socialists because we skipped over socialism, Mr. Congressman. We skipped right over it. We went right to communism. Together we created the most secure border. I mean, the things that we've done are incredible. The border in U.S. history, and built over 500 miles of border wall. I told you we're going to build another 200, and they didn't want to do it. Now, I have a thing if you want. Has anybody ever heard the snake? This has to do with the border, and this has to do now with Israel because of what happened. Should I do it or not? Okay, I thought you might be in a hurry to get the hell out of here. Nobody's in a hurry, right? So this has to do with borders. It has to do with bad people coming in. Has to do with people coming in from jails and mental institutions. And now it even pertains to Israel. What happened yesterday was incredible. I mean, so many people killed. I don't know if you've been here, but the number was much bigger than they reported even this morning. It's a very big number, very, very big number. And vicious, too. Vicious. Young children just slaughtered. It's terrible what's going on. So this is the snake. And people love it, and I do it if people want to hear it. Some people have heard it, some people haven't. But we'll do it, right? On her way to work one morning, down the path along the lake, a tender-hearted woman saw a poor, half-frozen snake. His pretty colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. Poor thing, she cried, I'll take you in, and I'll take care of you. I'll take care of you, right? Border people coming in. I'll take care of you. Take me in, O tender woman, take me in for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. She wrapped him up all cozy in a comforter of silk and laid him by her fireside with some honey and some milk. She hurried home from work that night, and as soon as she arrived, she found the pretty snake she'd taken in had been revived. Take me in, O tender woman, take me in for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, cried the vicious snake. She clutched him to her bosom. You're so beautiful, she cried. But if I hadn't brought you in by now, you truly would have died. She stroked his pretty skin again and kissed him and held him tight. But instead of saying, thank you, ma'am, the snake gave her a vicious bite. Take me in, O tender woman, take me in for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, cried the vicious snake. Oh, this is so sad to hear. Look, she's crying in the front. Don't cry. Learn from this. She's crying. I saved you, cried the woman, and you've bitten me. But why? You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die. Shut up, silly woman, said the reptile with a grin. You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in. That's what's happening on our border. That's what's happening on our border. This is just a little thing that I did once and I liked it and I did it again and some people like it. But what it's saying basically is we're taking in people in our country that we're taking in people involved with Israel that were attacked, taking in people from all over the world, many of them from prisons, many of them from insane asylums. Please, sir, don't use the term insane asylums. That's Silence of the Lambs stuff. That's serious stuff, right? Mental institutions. Couldn't you just use my geniuses backstage? Sir, could you not use the term insane asylum? Because it's very tough. You know, that's the Silence of the Lamb, Hannibal Lecter, right? I said, well, we have to do that. We have to use the term, but we're taking these people in. Side the vicious snake, right? Side the vicious snake. We're taking people in, and we're going to have taking in terrorists from all over the world. Terrorists are pouring into our country. You know, in 2019, they did a thing. They had no terrorists for a long period of time, none. And yesterday, I heard they announced thousands of terrorists are coming into our country. When I was your president, we had peace through strength, and now we have weakness, conflict, and chaos. The atrocities we're witnessing in Israel would never have happened if I was president, would never have ever happened. When I was commander-in-chief, we reduced the Iranian economy, and I withdrew from the disastrous Iran nuclear deal, imposed the toughest ever sanctions on the regime, and imposed a strict travel ban to keep radical Islamic terrorists the hell out of our country. Now they're pouring into our country. They're pouring into our country. Joe Biden undid it. He undid it all and gave billions and billions of dollars to the world's top sponsor of terror, tossing Israel to the bloodthirsty terrorists and jihadists. You saw that just recently. Biden's national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, he's another beauty, bragged to this is like a couple of days ago, like yesterday. He bragged to a foreign policy audience, quote, "The Middle East region is quieter today than it's been in 2 decades. Oh, how's that working out? They just attacked Israel. And it's been a hotbed beyond that, even beyond that. This war happened for 3 reasons. The allowing by the Biden administration of Iran to sell massive amounts of oil, and making $60 billion a year. People don't talk about that. They talk about the $6 billion. But they gave them $6 billion in ransom money. We got 6, they got 6. We got 5, they got 5. But then what happened is they also got $6 billion. So we got 5, and they got 5. And on top of the 5, they got $6 billion. Somehow, that's not a good deal. And our country's perceived weakness with an incompetent and corrupt leader, Joe Biden, who's laughed at all over the world. And Joe Biden betrayed Israel. You know, when I see Bibi Netanyahu come and he tries to talk them into doing something, they never do it. They never do it. It's a real problem. I can't imagine how anybody who's Jewish or anybody who loves Israel, and frankly, the evangelicals love Israel. I can't imagine anybody voting Democrat, let alone for this man who's totally. He was shot 30 years ago. He's more shot now. But the problem was all caused by crooked Joe Biden. And, he's negotiating all of these different deals, but he's not really negotiating because he doesn't have time in the day. He spends most of the day sleeping. But he can't. He can't put 2 sentences together. He can't do anything. He can't do anything. We have an incompetent man as our president, worst president in the history of our country. The only one that's happy about him is Jimmy Carter. It's true. Jimmy's thrilled. But this problem was caused, in my opinion, by his boss, Barack Hussein Obama. Remember Rush Limbaugh? He used to, do we like Rush, right? He used to go, Barack Hussein Obama. But it's caused by Obama. That's the boss of Crooked Joe. And his people who are running the White House. His people are running the White House. And they're running these vicious witch hunts and investigations on me because I don't think Biden's, I don't think he knows what the hell he's doing, which are all about election interference. Even the judge I have in Washington, who is just absolutely biased, happens to be an Obama appointee. How do you think I'll do with her? Nice? A very nice person, I'm sure. She's never going to give me a fair trial, and nor can I get a fair trial in Washington, D.C., because I've called for a federal takeover for a long time of the city so that we can end crime, end squalor, end homelessness, and bring back the capital of our nation to be the most beautiful capital of any country in the world, right? But you can't have, they're not supposed to have a trial. I say, I'm taking away your city. No, we're going to make it beautiful. We're going to do it, and we'll be fine. You know what? We're going to be fine. I don't know. I got all these people, these horrible, horrible, crooked people, but somehow we're going to be fine. People say, how do you take it, sir? I say, whatever, but we're going to be fine because that's the way it works out. People get it. You know, the public understands it so well. That's why I'm the only man ever indicted who went up in the polls very substantially. Sure. Everybody gets indicted, ladies and gentlemen. I will be leaving off. No, I'm the only man that's ever been indicted who went up. I think, would you check that when we get back to Washington, please? I'm pretty sure. How would you like to be indicted, Mr. Congressman? I think you'd be in trouble. He would resign immediately, live happily with his beautiful wife. That would be the end of it, right? But the good thing is we have a voice, and we can explain it. And when we explain it, people understand it's a big scam. It's a big hoax, just like Russia, just like the Pfizer, just like all of the things that were scams. Ukraine, all scams. The whole thing was a scam. As president, I will once again stand strongly with the state of Israel, and we will cut off the money to the terrorists on day one. And reimpose the travel ban on terror-afflicted countries. I had a travel ban. You know, we think of it. I don't like talking about it, but now I can because the time is up. I went 4 years without a problem. 4 years because I had a travel ban. And the Islamic terrorists weren't allowed. It was very tough for them. I had a very strong travel ban. We didn't have a problem in 4 years. People forget that. People forget what happened before I was there. We had a big, big problem. But the bloodshed and killing that we saw this week will never, ever be allowed to happen on American soil, except for the fact that we have now allowed tens of thousands of probable terrorists into our country. We have people coming, men, coming in from China by the thousands. Men, not women, men coming in by the thousands. We have men coming in from the Middle East by the thousands and thousands, and they let them come in, just come right in. There's something going on, and we got to be careful. We need smart leadership. If we don't have smart leadership, we're not going to have a country any longer. Less than 4 years ago, we had peace in the Middle East with the historic Abraham Accords. Today, we have an all-out war in Israel, and it's going to spread very quickly. What a difference a president makes. Isn't it amazing, though? Think what a country, just think about this. Think what our country would have been like if the election had not been rigged and stolen. Think of this. Just think of this. Israel would not now be under attack. Zero chance. These are things 100%. Ukraine would not be under attack by Russia. Zero chance. Place is being wiped out, by the way. Wiped out. It's unbelievable. The cities are just obliterated. Then they say 2 people were hurt. When you find the real death toll that's happening in Ukraine, you're not going to believe it. The numbers are horrible. We would have no hostile relationship with North Korea. I get along with Kim Jong-un very well. A lot of nuclear weapons. We would have left Afghanistan with dignity, strength, and power instead of the worst embarrassment in the history of our country with dead soldiers, American hostages not taken back. And we left $85 billion worth of military equipment for the Taliban to have lots of fun with. And they're selling much of it. There's third largest merchant in the whole world of military equipment. They're selling, think of it, number 3 in the world. They're selling the equipment that we stupidly left behind. These are stupid people, very stupid people. We would have a strongest border. And by the way, in Afghanistan, I spoke to Abdul, head of the Taliban. The president went crazy when they heard that. And I said, Abdul, never, ever kill any of our soldiers again. 18 months we went. I said, a lot more than that. 18 months we went, not one soldier was killed in Afghanistan. Not one soldier. 18 months. Biden even said that in his speech. Well, for 18 months, they didn't lose. 18 months, we didn't lose us. They were knocking them out with nobody's ever seen anything like it. During Obama, they were knocking them out. I told him, don't ever do it. He said, but why do you send me? It's an interesting phrase. But why do you send me a picture of my home? I said, you have to figure that one out. But I said, we'll hit you harder than anybody's ever been hit. But the same people that attacked Israel are pouring into our once beautiful USA throughout our totally open southern border. They're coming in at record levels. And they're planning, I don't know, maybe they're planning. Are they planning an attack at our homeland? I mean, I guess maybe that could happen, couldn't it, huh? Who would have thought what you have witnessed for the last 2 days could happen? Crooked Joe Biden and his boss, Barack Hussein Obama, did this to us. We would have the strongest economy in the world. We would have had, think of it, right now, the strongest economy anywhere in the world. There would be no inflation, zero. We would have zero inflation. Interest rates right now would be low because we would have had energy, and that energy drove everything up. Mortgage rates right now, which I told you are the highest in decades, would be low. We'd be energy independent, making a lot of money. We would soon be energy dominant. And all of this money would go toward paying off our national debt and reducing your taxes still further. Largest tax decrease ever. The United Auto Workers and the auto workers all over would not be under siege with this ridiculous electrical vehicle mandate. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. It's a gift to China. They love giving China gifts. I wonder why. They will not have jobs. The auto workers aren't going to have jobs in 2 years. They got to be very careful with their union because they automatically always endorse and support a Democrat. They should endorse us because I said to the head of the union, if you endorse us, you can go away on vacation for 3 months. You will be the greatest head of a union in the history of America because I will bring back the auto industry like you've never seen. But let's see what they do. In other words, we'd be living in a much different world. We'd be respected again, and I would not have to say, make America great again, because America would already be great. I would say, keep America great. Remember? Keep America. But I can't say that now, because right now, America's a failing nation. It's a failing, very sadly failing nation. When I'm in the White House, the entire world will know that America is strong, America is safe, and that we are going to take care of our people. We're going to take care of the men and women of our country. We're not going to worry about the rest of the world. We'll do that where necessary, but we've got to take care of our country because we're losing our country. We're losing our country. In addition, I will totally obliterate the deep state. I started that too, very big. I fired Comey. I got rid of a lot of the FBI people. And we'll stop the weaponization of our government and overhaul the corrupt FBI and DOJ from the ground up. They're corrupt. They're corrupt. And before I even arrive at the Oval Office, shortly after we win the presidency, we are going to win the presidency, I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled. I'll get it settled. And it will be done quickly and fairly. And I'm the only candidate who can make this promise. I will do something that nobody else can say. Remember when I was running against crooked Hillary, beautiful Hillary, I was running against her. She said, he will start a war because of his personality. No, my personality is what kept us out. We had no wars. We beat ISIS and came home. We came home from Syria. We came home from Iraq. It was just the opposite. It's called dealing from strength. But I will do something that nobody else will be able to do, and I say it with a guarantee. I will prevent World War III. You're going to have World War III. You're going to have World War III. I see it happening. You have things happening, and you have a president that has no clue what's going on. On my first day back at the White House, I'll terminate the open borders policy of the Biden administration and begin the largest deportation operation in American history. I'll also use Title 42 to end the child trafficking crisis by returning all trafficked children to their families in their home countries. We'll do that immediately. And under my administration, we reduced drug overdose deaths in New Hampshire, as you know that, by 19%. And that's not even good enough, but it was going like a skyrocket. At least we got it turned. And we were doing some big things. Under Biden, they're up over 15%. What a difference. So that's over 30%. And as I've said many, many times, we will destroy the cartels just as we destroyed ISIS. You know, I beat ISIS and did it quickly. They were fighting ISIS for 20 years, and I defeated ISIS in less than 4 weeks because I wanted to defeat them. And we have a great military, and I let the military do its job, okay? And I will ask Congress to ensure that when a drug dealer is caught, smugglers, human traffickers, and you have it, I think, worse than any nation, any state, anywhere in the nation. When we catch a drug dealer, the only way you're going to stop it is the death penalty. And if you go to China, and remember, each drug dealer on average causes 500 deaths, not to mention the destruction of families. And plenty of people are in this room where your family has been destroyed because one of your kids, whether they died or just have been incapacitated for the rest of their life, each drug dealer causes 500 deaths plus destructions of families. And when you have a death in your family like that, that's a pretty good destruction of the family because most families can never function after that when they lose their child. The death penalty for drug dealers, very simple. You will see it end so fast. You will see it end so fast. You know, when I was in China, I said to President Xi, do you have a drug problem? No. No, you don't have a drug problem. You got 1.4 billion people. No drug problem. I said, what's the reason for that? Quick trial. I pretty much knew what he was talking about, but I said, quick trial. That means what I think it means. That means we catch the drug dealer, we give them a trial immediately, and if they're guilty, they are executed. And you know, they send the cost of the bullet to the family. They play hardball. They don't have a drug. In Singapore, they have no drug problem, zero drug problem, because they have the death penalty. Now, I don't know if this country is ready for the death penalty, but remember, every single drug dealer causes 500 deaths and destroys states. Your state is being destroyed because of it. Let's face it. You're the worst. I don't know why. New Hampshire is affected more than most other states for some reason. But if you had the death penalty, you would have, everybody would leave. They'd say, let's go someplace else. You know, we set up when I was president, we did a good job. We cut it down 19%, but 19% is not good. We cut it down 19. No, it went up for 40 years, 19%. We cut it. And we'd have a blue ribbon committee made of socialites, headed up by a great first lady in many cases, and she was wonderful. But they'd have a beautiful, nice committee, and they're dealing with these monsters, the cartel people, and these are monsters that are very smart, rich as hell, they have plenty of everything. And, you know, these blue ribbon committees, everyone wanted to be on, I want to be on a blue ribbon committee. And most of the time we'd be talking, you know, they talk about society, they talk about life, and then they get on with their lives, right? Now, if you want to stop the drug problem in this country, you have to have the death penalty for drug dealers. It's very simple. And you will stop it. I just don't know whether or not, and I'm totally in favor of it, but I don't know whether or not our country is ready for it. But if it's not ready now, when is it going to be? So I think we're losing, you know, they say 100. They've been using that 100,000 for years, right? Even less. I think we're losing 300,000 or 400,000 people a year. And if you add the destruction that they're doing to the fabric of our society to it, it's astronomical. If you want to stop it, you have to go with the death penalty for drug dealers. So I just want to conclude by saying all of the things that you want are going to be done. I am a conservative person, but when they say conservative, I say really more than conservative. I'm a person of common sense, just like the people in this audience, because common sense is so important. And what we would love you to do is to get out and join the campaign. We have so many people. We have incredible people involved in the campaign. I love them all. Steve, I don't know where you are. You're someplace in the room, but I love you all. And get out and support our campaign. We have to win big. The way you absolutely win is you have to swamp them. You have to swamp them because they can cheat and they will always cheat. And you understand that. They will always cheat. But when you swamp them, they can only cheat so much. And that's what we have to do. We have to have numbers like bigger than we had in 2020, which were record setting. You know, it was the most votes ever gotten by a city president. And yet they did terrible, terrible things. Terrible things. It was terrible for our country, and the world knows it, and most people know. When you look at polls, most people know it. They get it. And we just can't let it happen again. So I know that with you at my side, we're going to go and have a tremendous success. It's going to be a success like no other. I think it'll be the biggest event in political history, actually. I think it'll be bigger than 2016. And we're going to do a great job. And I just appreciate New Hampshire. So many friends up here and so many friends in the room. And we love you very much. Thank you. God bless you all. Thank you very much.